I decided to do this one just as a kind of a thought exercise. If there are, let's just say, 3 20-team super conferences where the Big Ten and SEC have already won in that, and the Big 12 would be the third winner, given the fact that it might be in more of an able negotiating position right now. That's just presupposing this. So that's what we're going to do here. This is not any way I think it's going to happen, but just as kind of a thought exercise of what would maybe work if that was going to happen.
Almost wish we had transcription of what you're saying because people will overreact to it.
Yeah. Just know. I don't know anything. I don't think this is just theoretical. All right, so number 5. So here's what you do. Arizona, Arizona State, Utah, Colorado to the Big 12. Been talked about a lot. Those are the 4 that kind of make the most sense. Obviously, Colorado being in there, the Arizona schools, proximity-wise, Utah and BYU is a rivalry anyway, and it becomes a conference game and increases the value of that particular game even so much more, not only to the conference but the television networks. We've talked about this one. This is kind of obvious, but I wanted to start with here as a starting point. So there's that.
So what do I think of it?
Yeah, I mean, we can maybe skip this one to get to the next one because I'm trying to get everybody to 20. So this gets the Big 12 to 16. Okay,
yeah, because if we spend time on it, I'm going to start getting into it. I really don't want these two, but okay.
So I'm just trying to get everybody to 20 where it would make sense.
All right.
And here's also with the Big 12. NC State, Georgia Tech, Pitt, and Louisville to the Big 12 if they go east in the
West Virginia,
ACC.
Pitt.
I actually like this better than the other one.
Yeah.
I mean, if they had the option on the table.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. I mean, give me Atlanta, give me Pittsburgh, give me Louisville, and give me the Wolfpack, and, yeah, we'll roll. I mean, that's not going to flip the fortunes of the conference, the way that people would like, but neither's the other one. So, yeah, I mean, this would be interesting and certainly would benefit, schools like West Virginia immensely.
And Louisville should have probably been in the last time around.
Right, yeah.
They probably should have been in, and it didn't happen. But, making Pitt, look, I just made Utah and BYU a big conference rivalry. Pitt and West Virginia, a conference rivalry again. I don't know how the fans feel about it, but as a person who just loves rivalries in college football, that teams that don't like each other, I love it, to especially make it a conference game. All right. So here's our first salvo at the Big Ten. UNC and UVA to the Big Ten. To me, these schools match the Big Ten much more than they match the SEC. Although not to say that they wouldn't wind up in the SEC if that ever came to pass and the SEC wanted them. But to me, that makes much more sense for them academic profile-wise. If the Big Ten feels to go further east, these maybe match them a little bit more.
So is this assuming Oregon and Washington join too to get to 20?
That's number 1. But we'll
oh, sorry. I was thinking of the number 20. You said 20. So this would be 18 with these two. 18, but I mean, UNC, I think it's been pretty clear how valuable they are in people's eyes. I mean, obviously the basketball program is sensational, but this is about football. But I mean, it's a university and fitting in and all that. I mean, they got big market. They got everything you're looking for pretty much. So, yeah, UNC. I'm very curious on Virginia, though. That seems like a team that if you were just making, the elite SEC, franchises, the state schools, yes, Virginia would make a ton of sense alongside a Florida and a Georgia and et cetera. But I am curious, how valuable they are. Because I see them throw around, and depending on where you're reading, they'd be a great addition or they would be great for one reason but not all the other reasons.
And part of my debate on this one is Virginia or Syracuse.
Okay.
And
that's just me not knowing. I don't know, and I don't know how many people know the value of Virginia. I think, a lot of times when you see realignment, people just go, oh, brand name, and not so necessarily how it translates, But, yeah, I think Virginia will be – if things keep shifting like they are, they're bound to be of interest for sure.
Yeah. Number 2, Clemson, Florida State, Miami, and Virginia Tech to the SEC.
Yeah.
I think Virginia Tech as a brand is maybe much more, at least as a football brand, matches the SEC much more than anything else. But it is a small school. And again, there's going to be some smaller schools left out here. Boston College is left out of this thing. Syracuse, in my mind, I tried to fit everybody somewhere. Boston College, Syracuse, Wake Forest, Oregon State, Washington State, all left out of this. you know.
Virginia Tech, another school that obviously branding-wise very recognizable, but how much are they also valuable?
Yeah, exactly.
And there's one thing that does strike my mind with this is basically the SEC would own the state of Florida.
Yeah.
And I don't know if everybody wants to allow that to happen or if they could stop that from happening, but in this scenario, they would own the entire state of Florida.
That football behind you probably doesn't necessarily want that to happen.
Probably not, yeah.
You know, like even though like they are, yeah. I mean, the Gators. Well, I mean, when Florida State had a chance to join it before, the Gators were very against it. But that's been a long, long time ago. So things change. And now, again,
A&M was very against Texas joining the SEC. And
they had about 2 seconds to complain.
Yeah, South Carolina could say, please don't bring Clemson in. And they'll be like, shut up.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you for your input, but you know what we're going to do. And number one would obviously be Washington and Oregon to the Big Ten. But then, look, here's the teams that, and we've talked about all that. I probably should have put this at the bottom. But that would be kind of the biggest move. That's why I moved it at the top. But that means that in all the scenarios I have, Stanford, Cal, and Notre Dame's kind of on their own thing, but Stanford, Cal, Washington State, Oregon State left out of any kind of big super conference, and Wake Forest, Boston College, Syracuse left out in the cold, as well as among some others I'm probably forgetting. But there's schools that are going to be left out if you go 3-team super conference, which is why I don't think, like most people, that that's really viable. Now, there might be 2 20-team super conferences, and then everybody else has to do what we just talked about with Dave Bartu and get together and figure all the rest out. But
I mean, it depends on what your definition of a super conference is.
Yeah.
If it's just the best teams congregating in certain leagues, then yeah, I mean, the SEC and the Big Ten are those super conferences. But I mean, everybody else might remain relatively the same that they are, and I don't think that they're just joke conferences or anything. I think some of their teams could definitely beat some of the super conference teams. But yeah, I think that's a term that's going to be interesting to kind of track, the super conference term, because in the way it's being used, this 2 super conferences and nobody else exists. I really don't think that that's going to be the way that it is. I think they're going to have massive super advantages money-wise, but I don't believe it's going to be just them and no one else really exists, like is the big fear.
And for those of you who run the replay and then you want